Hey, how are you? This is Aaron coming back with another installment of Bird Be Gone, Ask an Expert, and I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Mike Dougherty and Scott Swanson. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Really good, really good.
Very,
Happy
very
to be here
good.
again.
Yeah,
Very good.
Well, things feel a little heavy out in the world right now, so we want some levity. What's the funniest story around the pandemic life for you this week?
Yeah, Mike, what do you think? You know, it is getting lighter. It's not quite as heavy as it has been.
I think the funniest one is people not wearing their PPE properly, like they have their mask under their nose. That's the one that gets me cracking up the most.
Scary funny.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah, it's interesting living in the virtual online world now. And fortunately, Bird Be Gone set up to accommodate and to work that way. So I don't think we've missed a step.
Nope.
But it is weird, especially becoming teachers now, essentially.
Yep.
I mean, we're all teachers, those of us with kids.
Yep.
As well as, helping our friends and customers out too. So yeah, interesting time.
Right. Well, today we're going to be jumping into a fun topic. So for those of you that are listening into the podcast on a weekly basis, you've been able to pick up some just nuggets or things that you can take with you, put in your tool belt as you explore adding bird control to your business. But today's going to be a really, really good topic because we're getting into the basics of bird behavior. So when it comes to bird control or providing bird control for your customers, what things should you be looking for when you're going to a site to do an evaluation? What type of bird behavior or bird activity are you kind of keying in on to let you know what's happening at a specific job site?
Well, what's kind of cool is that we actually have a site evaluation form.
What?
We do.
What?
Bird Be Gone, and we can provide it to our friends and customers.
Yes, we can.
But
free of charge.
Yeah, but it can be very simple.
With an email.
As far as it can be as simple as looking up and looking down.
Yep.
Or it can be as involved as doing super detailed site evaluation and inspections.
Yeah.
And so it's something that's I think critically important.
Yeah.
Before, especially the bigger the job, the more important that becomes.
Yep.
But heck, I think Mike is probably one of the best in the industry at doing that.
Yeah.
I know he teaches a lot of classes on that.
Yeah.
And the guys I talk to that follow up after the course always say that he provides such great detailed advice on that. So we're fortunate to have probably the guy right there sitting next to us.
Right next to me.
Right next to you.
Right next
That's
to
right.
me. So, Mike, you have the mic.
Super important as far as any bird job is concerned. I always look for these three first questions. IPM, identify the bird. Always, you got to know what bird you're going after. 99% of the time it's pigeons, but it's extremely important to identify the bird species. Just as if you're a bug guy, you got to identify the bug. It's not less. It's like,
so why is that important? Because I get that. I think we all get that call a lot.
Yeah,
it's like, man, it's just a bird.
Yes.
Can I just throw some spike up there?
No, not spikes aren't for every situation, but or mesh size on netting. If you put up 2-inch netting, sometimes you can get sparrows nesting in there, and the callback comes from.
So basically, the species is going to help determine what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the second most important question is, where are they on the building? Is it covered or not covered? That's the single most important part to determine your product groups or categories.
Yep. So going back to your IPM acronym or acrostic, so identify the species.
Identify what kind of birds, where are they, and how many.
Got it. Okay.
The how many part, deals with, are you going to need to do trapping? When you have a pigeon problem that exceeds, 15 plus birds, eliminating or reducing that number is crucial to the success of the installation.
Yeah.
Talked to somebody yesterday. They had probably 200. I said, you're going to net this place off, but if you net it off and you don't do that reduction, they're going to keep trying to come in here and find other places that you may not have been able to net off. Yep. So, what kind of birds? Where are they? And how many?
Yep, that's good. So maybe connect that to this concept of bird pressure, because if you've been around bird control for any length of time, you probably heard the phrase thrown around, but you may not know what it means. So what is bird pressure?
Well, that's the other thing too. I think another component of what Mike was talking about is, what are the birds doing?
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes what we refer to as bird pressure. So are they just, once in a while they'll fly and land on a ledge, or are they roosting there, or are they building nests there? So all these, just casually, some people say loafing. So all these different behaviors are largely going to help determine what you need to do to get rid of them. And I think Mike touched on a lot of that behavior, but I'm sure you can elaborate a little bit on that stuff.
Just in a basic thing, basic stance and something easy to remember. If there's nesting birds, the category is netting or exclusion.
Yep.
If they're loafing and that's out in the open, that's where we use the ledge products like the track, the spikes, the Spectrum V, gel, bird wire, bird spiders. Mm-hmm. It's getting it into those categories. Makes it. It puts it into a sense. That you can get it. There's a rhyme and a reason to the products and where they work and why they work.
Yeah, it's good. So what about those funky places like nooks and crannies of a building or a structure where you have some sort of ledge or overhang providing shelter for birds?
So biggest thing, whenever you're finding shelter, that's usually where birds will nest, and you're 90% of the time you're installing netting in there.
Yeah.
It's one of the most common situations that gets netted off is like a loading dock canopy. Yep. Or a canopy out in front of a store and stuff like that.
Parking garages.
Yeah. Areas that offer cover and shelter for mostly pigeons, but other birds as well.
Yeah. So that makes me think of what are some of the primary motivators for birds? What's driving bird behavior? And I'm assuming that there's some pretty basic instincts that we can identify with. So birds are looking for what?
I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to pigeons, they're looking for that tallest building. A lot of times you'll find them at the churches and stuff like that. That seems to be the highest point around, and they like that high point so that they're able to watch out for their predators.
Okay, yeah.
That's typical motivating factor, and if that structure has areas for them to nest, they typically will focus on that.
Yeah.
So you'll see it in a neighborhood, and like my house is the highest one, and that's typically where they'll go.
So I think they're really just looking for to simplify that a little bit. It's food, shelter, and some
food, shelter, water.
That's pretty much it.
Look in the pest world, it's the three-legged stool that's the pillar of the things that they're looking for.
And food, some birds need gravel to help digest their food, so they love gravel roofs.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
So if they're motivated by food, shelter, water, I know, and I think we had a conversation in an earlier episode about HVAC units or air conditioning units. So what is present in an HVAC unit?
Everything. Yeah, right.
So
the condensation, there's always condensation. Mm-hmm. They're usually gravel roofs, and they provide some great. So absolutely.
And then they always have they have those walls around them, the wind blockers on those commercial roofs, and that offers even more shelter for them to create a safe place.
Yep. So when you guys are going to on a site evaluation, what things are you looking for on the building to key you into, hey, is this a light bird pressure situation? Is it medium, or is it a heavy bird pressure situation?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think when you're going into a situation, or at least me, I try to get as much information from the customer that I can before I go out. Yeah. And sometimes I'll even Google Earth it or whatever to take a peek at before I even get there. Yep. But I think more importantly than that is what else am I looking for? So I'm going into a building. I know they've got a bird problem. Yep. What I'm looking for is the surrounding buildings and structures, because birds are you get rid of them here, we're not killing them or harming them. Yep. All of our products are safe and humane, and so we're not killing them like you would a rodent or a rat or a bug. So I'm looking for the next bird problem or the next opportunity, if you will. But really, I think we used to. And I'm not sure if this is Michael will know, but I'm not sure if it's still accurate. It used to be for every one pigeon you see, count on, I think, 20
10
Some-
to 10 or
something
20,
like
yeah,
that?
something like that.
So what you may think is a simple bird problem. You got a couple birds that I see.
Right.
Heck, you get up on the roof or whatever, it may be a whole new ball game. So
Right.
there's a lot, I guess, of what I'm saying that goes into it before you actually do a site evaluation.
Sure. So maybe rolling up on a site and making an assessment from the ground floor isn't necessarily the best or most effective way to understand what's happening at that structure.
Yeah, and there's not always an opportunity to get up onto a roof, for example. So that may be the best you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that you're right. It may not be the best way to determine.
So ideally, if possible, get on the roof so you can have a holistic understanding of what's happening on that structure.
Or maybe just a pair of binoculars. Or maybe there's a neighboring building that you can get up on too.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you got to get creative.
Okay. So when it comes to birds and how long they've been at a structure, maybe you guys can talk to, it's a word we hear often around bird control, is habituation. So maybe talk a little bit about that. Why does it matter? You know, if I have a bird problem and maybe I choose to ignore it for a few months, what's going to happen to my bird problem if I allow the birds to habituate or get used to my structure?
Yeah, I think in the question of how many birds, the thing about bird problems, they don't normally just show up. So you can tell how long, at any given bird situation, you can tell how long it's been by almost the amount of droppings.
Yeah.
And getting that count, I mean, it really determines how long it's been there.
Yeah.
And in contrast, in the pest control world, sometimes the pests, they do show up. But with the bird ones, it starts out with 2, and then they get more, and then more and more.
Yep.
The reason for that is that they're homing pigeons. They don't just go. They don't migrate.
Yeah.
The thing I talk to people about to help them understand that is I go, look, we sell a lot of products in Canada, and it gets pretty cold up there in the wintertime, and they don't leave there either.
Yeah.
So just kind of a testament to that homing instinct is evident in that behavior.
Yep.
And those populations don't,
They're not migratory.
Well, but and they happen quick. I think it's 2 to 3 broods a year for pigeons.
Yeah.
Simple math. I mean, you're looking at a lot of birds over a very short period of time.
Absolutely.
And I think we've all got stories of going into a location that maybe has a few birds there, but because generations have been there so long, that once you get in, you see
piles of
I think we've all got crazy stories of that. It's so.
So is it easier, maybe to ask the question a different way, is it easier to solve a new bird problem, or is it more difficult to solve a bird problem that has been around for a long time?
Yeah, 100% a new problem.
Yeah,
get on it as soon as you see it.
Newer is
Absolutely.
easier.
So an ignored bird control problem is a growing bird control problem. Is a more expensive bird control problem.
Well, and a more dangerous problem too.
Yeah.
I mean,
more cleanup, more products depending on the size, but
more damage. I mean, droppings are so they're acidic, so they can eat through paint and metal and concrete and all sorts of stuff. So.
I've been on a few roofs where I was a little sketched about how much it's eaten through the building materials.
Oh, for sure.
You don't want to let them go. That's for sure.
Yep. Well, any other parting comments on just bird behavior? Again, someone getting into the industry fresh off the boat, what things do they need to look for?
Yeah, I think that the one thing that I always find interesting is that they're, like most wildlife, they can be really unpredictable too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can throw everything at them, and for whatever reason, it doesn't happen very, very often. It doesn't move the birds.
Yeah.
So they can be unpredictable. They can be very tenacious. So you need to use all the tools in the toolbox sometimes to make sure you get rid of the problems.
Yeah, that's good. How about you, Mike? Any closing words?
Closing words, always answer those 3 questions. What kind of birds? Where are they? And how many?
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us for another installment of Bird Be Gone Ask an Expert. We will see you guys next time.
See you later.
Adios.
See ya.
Thank you.